What's good, gamers? Welcome back to Fizzy MTG. Today, we're going to be answering a question one of you had in the comments, which is how to play, essentially, this red-green or Gruul deck from the 2022 starter kit. And I'm going to try to break this down as best I can. I haven't actually played this deck myself, but I have read over all the cards, and I have the basic idea of how sort of this deck wants to be played. I'm going to try to keep it simple, but like understandable, and hopefully this is what you're looking for if you're watching this. So yeah, here we go. The first thing I would say, the main sort of thing this deck wants to do from my reading here is you want to get Thundering Raiju is kind of your main sort of like, this is your bomb, as a lot of people will refer. And I'll read the card. It's a 4-drop, so, you know, turn 4 typically whenever you're going to get this boy. You can kind of do a little ramp with this deck, so we'll get into that. But it's got haste. When Thundering Raiju attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature you control on target creature you control. Oh, not other, okay. Then Thundering Raiju deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of modified creatures you control other than Thundering Raiju. So that's where the other comes in. So what that means, essentially, is if you have a creature that has an equipment on it or that has a +1/+1 counter on it, that is considered modified. Or, you know, an aura or something like that, which I don't believe this deck has any auras or equipments. It's just straight up +1/+1 counters. So the goal of this deck is to get your Thundering Raiju onto the field, essentially, and sort of ping your opponent for however many creatures modified you have when he attacks. And you're going to be able to get him through with a little bit of invasion that you're going to get on this boy right here to get sort of like damage dealt. This is Lamholt Hair. It's a 2-drop with pay 3 and a red. Target creature can't block this turn. So this is kind of like, it's not foolproof invasion, but it can be helpful. You know, you've got some stuff like that. Obviously, you've got a few removal spells. But I would say, ideally, hopefully, you want to get turn 1 Voldaren Stinger. Stinger. It's a 1-drop, so you can play this on your first turn. It has first strike as long as it's attacking, and you can pay 2 and a red to give it +2/+0 until the end of turn. Now, I don't believe that counts as being modified, but again, when you get Thundering Raiju on the field, you can modify this creature with its ability. But you wanna start with something like this, or maybe your Ascendant Pack Leader, which is going to buff itself every time you play a spell with mana value 4 or greater. There are technically 10 in this deck. You've got Mounted Dread Knight, you've got Burn the Accursed, Flourishing Hunter, Glorious Sunrise, and Creepy Puppeteer. So all of these cards are your 4 or greater cards, so this is what's going to give you your ability to get a +1/+1 counter on Ascendant Pack Leader, making him modified, meaning you should use your Thundering Raiju's ability to modify creatures that will not be able to modify themselves, such as your Voldaren Stinger. You also have Timberland Guide, which is a 2-drop. Whenever you play it, it enters the battlefield. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature. So you can use this to modify some of your creatures, and then use your Thundering Raiju to modify him. And again, the idea is to build a board of modified creatures, and then let your Thundering Raiju, you know, do its thing. Now, another thing, you do have some sort of basic, you know, some removal here. You've got a Braid for 1 and a red, which you can choose 1 of 2. You can destroy a target artifact, which could be useful against artifact creatures, mana ramp, stuff like that. You can deal 3 damage to target creatures, so you can just get rid of a creature if it has 3 toughness or less. So that's useful. You also have, you know, your Burn the Accursed. I don't know why I'm still holding this stack. Burn the Accursed deals 5 damage to target creature and 2 damage to that creature's controller. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. So that's really useful. You can kind of get rid of a thing there. I'm going to go ahead and remove it from my hand here. Mounted Dread Knight is going to be nice because whenever he enters the field, he's got Trample. And he gets a 1/1 counter if an opponent lost life this turn. So again, if you can Burn the Accursed and then cast this, that's a lot of mana. Or if you could do something like use your Lamholt Harrier's ability, or even just be able to swing through at your opponent, very useful. And to help you kind of get your hand in order as you're getting ready to do all of these things. This is a very useful card, your Spore Crawler. It's a 3-drop fungus, 3/2, with when it dies, draw a card. So ideally what you want to do is get this on the field, and you can obviously use it to attack, but you want this for a good blocker to get rid of sort of some damage coming your way, as well as hopefully to kill it so you can draw a card. You've also got a little bit of ramp here. You've got Topiary Stomper, which is a 3-drop with Vigilance, which is really useful. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Now, it can't attack or block unless you control 7 or more lands, but it can help you get to your 7 or more lands, at least a little bit. So it's, not too crazy. A little bit of life gain to help you in the longer games. You have this, your Flourishing Hunter, which enters the battlefield. When it enters the battlefield, you gain life equal to the greatest toughness among other creatures you control. So say you've got Topiary Stomper is the strongest card on your field. It's a 4/4, then you're going to gain 4 life. Now let's say you got a really good scenario where you've got, hold on here, Ascendant Pack Leader on the field, and you've been pumping this boy up every time by playing a few other spells. It's kind of later in the game, and he's like an 8/8. So by the time this guy's an 8/8, you play your Flourishing Hunter. When he enters the battlefield, you gain 8 life. So, very useful. You can do that kind of stuff. Also, you do have dual lands, which are going to gain you a life when they enter. They enter tapped, but you get a life to kind of help you be able to stay in the game a little longer. And also, Trample. Really useful to deal damage to your opponent, even if he's got some blockers, because it kind of does piercing, so you can bleed through. You'll be able to attack, and if they block, then whatever damage you have, like if they block with a 2/2, then you're going to, only 1/2/2, obviously. They're going to take 3 damage because they can only block 2 of it because it has Trample. So that's really useful. Let's see. I think there's a couple other cards I haven't really gone over here. So one of them being Creepy Puppeteers. Creepy Puppeteers is a 4-drop with haste. Whenever Creepy Puppeteers attacks, if you attacked with exactly one other creature this combat, you may have that creature's power and toughness become 4/3 until the end of turn. So let's say you've got your Voldaren Stinger on the battlefield, and you're going to swing exactly with it and Creepy Puppeteers. Well, Creepy Puppeteers makes your Voldaren Stinger a 4/3, and Voldaren Stinger, as long as it is attacking, it has first strike, which means when this thing attacks, if someone blocks it, even with a Death Touch creature, you're going to get your damage in first, and if your damage 4 is able to kill their creature, then obviously that's very good. You just kind of get rid of that. So a little bit of helpful removal there. We've also got Glorious Sunrise, which is an enchantment. This is a great card. 3, a green and a green for an enchantment. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose 1. Creatures you control, meaning all of them, get +1/+1 and gain Trample until the end of turn. Drawing a card if you control a power 3 or greater creature is also really useful, or you can just choose to gain life to, help you prolong your survival until you're able to build your board as you want. And I think... Oh, there is also one other card here we haven't got. Well, actually 2, sorry. Let's start with this one. High Rise Sawjack, which is a 3-drop, 2 and a green with reach. This is basically your flying protection. When it blocks a creature with flying, it gets +2/+0 until the end of turn. So it blocks a flyer as a 4/3, which is extremely useful. That can get rid of some small dragons in a lot of situations. And if you can get a couple +1/+1 counters on this, modify this boy, it can do a whole lot more. So, very, very useful. The next one is Witch's Web, which is an instant, which is very useful. 1 and a green, target creature gets +3/+3 and gains reach until the end of turn. Untap it. So you can use this. Say your board is tapped out except you have 2 mana, and your opponent attacks with a flyer, and you've got, let's just say you've got good old, once again, Voldaren Stinger. It's a 1/1, okay? But you happen to have a green and a red mana left, or just a green and a green, or whatever. But you can't have 2 red, and it's tapped. But you wanna be able to block a flyer that's coming at you. That is, let's say it's a 4/4. Well, you can tap your 2 mana, play your Witch's Web to give this +3/+3, making it a 4/4, and block the flyer. Now, because you're blocking, not attacking, you do not get first strike, sadly, but still, it should be more than enough to take out, simple 4/4. Again, even Thundering Raiju himself is only a 3/3. So, anyway, hopefully that wasn't overly complicated. that's all of the cards and basically what they do, and sort of giving hopefully an idea of sort of what to do. One more thing I would like to try here is I'm going to do a quick shuffle of all the cards, and we'll see what an opening hand is, and I'll go through a scenario of what I would do with that opening hand were I to keep it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's see if this is a keepable hand. Timberland Guide, not a bad start. We've got a Timberland Guide. We've got a Mountain. We've got a Forest, a Lampholt Harrier ×2. Oh, and a few Forests. Perfect. I would say this is a decent starting hand, and I would 100% take this hand. Now, let's say we are on the draw, just to see, kind of give you guys a sort of what that would be. On the draw, we draw Forest. Okay, so we've got 2 different 2-drops in our hand that are useful. We've got Lampholt Harrier, and we've got Timberland Guide. We can't play either of those on the first turn. I will start with a Mountain, and I will pass the turn to my opponent. On the next turn, I will draw. We draw a Mountain. I'll play a Forest, and what I would do is I would tap 2 for the Lampholt Harrier, which is a 2/2, which is not bad, and it enters, normally no effects there. You can pay 4 mana to make it to where target creature can't block. All right, so next turn, I would untap. Again, this is kind of an ideal scenario if we live and all this. Play a Forest, and then I would tap 2, pay Timberland Guide. Play him when he enters the battlefield, get a +1/+1 counter on target creature. I would put it on my Lampholt Harrier, making him modified as well, which is really useful. This guy's only a 1/1. I know, you can spread the... If you need, you can always make this guy a 2/2 because it says, enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. So I don't think it is excluded from that. Usually it would say other creatures. But let's see. Next turn, we would draw another Mountain, and I would essentially play another Mountain to kind of keep my mana split as best I could. Tap 1 of each, and I'd play another Lampholt Harrier. And I would just keep building my board until we, got to what we would need once we started getting some further cards and, get your card draw and all that stuff. But that's kind of the idea. That's a sort of start. Just build your board, play what you get, and just have fun. Ultimately, don't worry about it. If you make some mistakes, everybody makes mistakes, especially in the beginning. You will get better. Just play games. And also, if there's a rule you're not sure about and you're not 100%, just kind of come to an agreement with who you're playing with of how you're going to rule it. Try to rule it in the most common sense, best way you can, what makes sense to you, and just move on. Keep playing, and eventually, whenever you learn the correct way to do that rule, then you start applying it from that point forward. You can explain as you go and be like, okay, hey, I actually learned how this works, so we're going to play it this way. That's what I've always done with my play group, and we have a blast. There's a lot of stuff I'm sure we don't do exactly right, but we're learning more and more every time we play, and we have a blast. So that's going to do it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope this was useful to you. I hope you got something out of it. If you want me to do one of these for the other deck, let me know. I'd be happy to do it. It might be a little while down the road before I do, because I've got a lot of other videos I'm recording right now, but I wanted to go ahead and get this one done because someone did ask in the comments. I had the deck available, and I was like, you know what, let's just go ahead and do it. So that's going to do it for this video. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like, comment, leave your thoughts in the comments below, all the good junk. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.